Shanahan, hasn't made it to the playoffs yet. But when he gets
Kyle,
there this year,
as an OC, he has, but not a head
not as
coach.
a head coach, not
Okay.
running his entire
Sorry, I thought you
scheme
meant
as a head
overall.
coach.
That's like, oh, what?
No. And when he gets there this year, is he gonna? He's had to run his whole scheme this year to win all these games. So is it gonna be stagnant? Like the Packers have been this roller coaster up, and you can't put a bead on everything. Like there's a lot of tape there that's gonna just be. It's gonna be a waste of your time to watch it.
Did you just see the onside attempt?
No, I missed it.
It was horrible. Watch his kick. Rather than trying to bounce it up in the air and give your defenders a chance, that. That is what came up. But anyways, yeah, I do because actually another rabbit hole on this. But Jay, we how many times? I'm going to bring this up too. With another subject we brought up on this to chain link off that. How many times in the past when you saw Rodgers get schlackings like he got against the 49ers and he would have emotional outbursts? He would be yelling at wide receivers. Him and the coaches would be going at it. He'd be getting pissed at himself, throwing tablets down. We did not see a single ounce of emotion from him during that San Fran game. He just stood there, gave a little frowny face. That's it. Just stood there, minded his own business. And you pointed that out to me. And that raised my question in my head. And that's why I was like, okay, something is up. Because usually Rodgers, he wears emotions on his sleeve. I could not place a beat on it. And then that's when I was talking to Jay on the phone and the light bulb went off. Was the whole, I feel like they are putting game plans together each week to see if it'll work. If it doesn't, they're going to rip the pages out that do work or that we keep the pages in the playbook that do work, replace it with other stuff they will try in the coming weeks. So I feel like in Washington, you know what I feel like we're going to see in Washington, Jay?
What's up?
I feel like in Washington, I feel like we're going to see a ton of tight end usage. Lewis, Tanyan, Sternberger, Graham. That's the only thing we haven't seen up to this point on the offensive side. And like, because if you go through all the other games, there's positions that they're using for that game so much to try and see which schemes will work, which play designs are going to unfold of routes that'll work. The one thing we have not seen is a heavy used tight end game. Get off
Yeah.
Twitter whore.
Sorry. I got a text from the old lady that said makes no sense.
She's speaking
I
Malaysian.
don't know what language it is, but I'm not understanding. It says check the link, Roy. Check the kids. I don't know what Link Roy is exactly, but whatever it is, I'm supposed to check Link Roy. So I'm confused as hell right now.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. But besides that text message, what I just said, seriously though, think about it. The one position we have not focused on this year as an offense, it's been wide receivers. It's been running backs. Danny Vitale has had 5 targets in a game. We have not used the tight ends as a whole group. And I feel like Washington or Chicago, it's going to happen. I feel like you're going to see a game where you see 4 tight end packages come in. You're going to have like Sternberger and Graham split out wide. 2 blocking tight ends and Tanyan and Lewis that set up him as a play fake, and you got 4 guys who were able to play mismatches. It's the one position that hasn't been shown in this offense yet. And I don't know if they're keeping it for that reason, like we discussed. They've gotten plays here and there from tight ends through the season they can build up in a playbook for the tight end section. But we haven't seen a game from a tight end group as like 10 to 15 targets a game as a group.
It's true.
I feel like we're going to see it soon. If not, I feel like it's going to be one of those playoff games. Like, what was it? The Philly game was a perfect analogy. You had James Starks go off in the wild card and just completely annihilate a Philly defense on the ground. But you had guys like Andrew Corliss. You guys had like Tom Crabtree. I went back and looked. You know how many targets they had, Jay?
A ton.
They had, between all tight ends, everybody on that team. Did they still have Donald Lee then? I think they did. Did they?
Might have.
As a special teams and a blocking full. Yeah, I think he was in there. All together in that game, they still had 14 targets as a group for the tight ends. I feel like I feel like that is going to be what LaFleur does. Either hold the tight ends off all season. Because if you go look at what Graham has compared to last year, his stats are not even going to meet what he had last year.
He had like 63 targets, 748 yards.
He was a big part of the offense last year. Yeah, his touchdowns were up, but the yards were, folks. That's what matters. Rodgers kept giving him the ball. This year, it has not been the same targeting system, and it's because LaFleur, I think, wants to hold off on the tight ends. Because now look what's happened. Now, Jay, the media's doing it. They're even noticing it. Lazard, he had a couple big games already. He had the big game in New York. Now you have Adams, you have Lazard. So in the media's eyes, you're setting your wide receiver 1 and your wide receiver 2. Now they got to work on their slot wide receiver. And
I still firmly believe Ryan Grant is.
You're going to talk about my next thing. Yeah, I was going to get to that if you let me finish, you jerk.
That's why I wrote that article.
No,
maybe it was early, but it was. I still believe it.
Post-practice press conference today, he even came out and specifically, in the past 6 weeks, Grant has not been mentioned in any press conference. None. He came out today, and they asked him, well, Ryan Grant was picked up. I mean, are you guys going to use him? And he goes, well, in practice, he hasn't earned the right to play over anybody for snaps. And we're going to decide this week if he feels he does. And if he does, obviously he should make the active roster and not the sitting 7. To me, that says I think they're ready to give him some time, because why in the blue hell would LaFleur come out and give this extravagant answer on Ryan Grant out of nowhere 8 weeks later? Don't you yawn at me. We're going to do
he's the only pure slot wide receiver they have on the roster. Everybody else is a big guy.
But that's my point. We've used running backs.
Yeah, huh? I know. Oh, I know.
We've used running backs. We've used fullbacks. We've used wide receivers. And now we've used enough wide receivers in each game plan. You have your wide receiver too. What's the last spot we haven't used besides tight ends? Slot wide receiver. Ryan Grant make an appearance this weekend from... If you go back and listen to the rest of the press conference, it's something I always make sure to listen to, because I feel like LaFleur sends signs, and people are like, oh, yeah, you're just trying to be all superstitious signs. And I'm like, no. LaFleur and Rodgers are that way. They send little Easter eggs inside their words, and they make you go find them. I feel like Grant, like if he wasn't going to plan on playing Grant, Jay, you know what it would have been? Well, yeah, we picked him up, but you know what? We haven't felt he's ready. He's probably not going to play yet. Why would he say, we'll see if he deserves snaps this week? It's not a no.
Well, I said that. I basically said that whole thing.
I know you did. I'm just pointing it out there.
Yeah, no. And I'm backing you up here.
It's just a different angle.
I was wrong about the timing. But the overall plan, I don't feel like I was wrong or off on. I thought And now I kind of feel dumb because it feels like, okay, yes, looking back at it, they didn't change anything. They weren't planning on it. The plan was never to debut anything. The plan is not to give them hardly any, like, I really feel like the playoffs is going to be the 2012 San Francisco 49ers. The league is going to go, what's this offense? What's this defense?
Exactly. Who are these guys?
It hasn't been on.
Why is
it has
Danny
no.
Patel
It's not
getting 8 targets in a game?
It's
Why
not.
is
And
Stripper, who is he?
it's not. It's not going to be who are these guys. It's because I think everybody knows they've got enough talent. It's going to be like, wait a second, where the hell was this? We went through all kinds of tape. We didn't see this play. We didn't see this sequence of play calls. They didn't play that coverage. Where did that front come from? Like, I honestly am starting to believe they think their best chance. Well, I think what they're doing is, I think they believe with their talent they can straight up go with this scheme. They could go pretty much contend, go punch for punch with anybody out there. They might not come out on top at the end of the 10th round, and win in the points by a judge's decision. But I think they believe if they hold this back and they're not giving anybody any ability to really game plan for what they want to do for an entire game as a whole through playoffs, I think they believe like, oh, now you're not going to be able to stop us. We got Aaron Rodgers. You don't have any tape on us. By the time you're going to have enough tape in a one-and-done scenario in the playoffs, and if you have let's be real here, if the Packers get a first-round bye, even if it's a 2 seed, who's catching up to them before it's too late? You get the divisional round, and then you got the championship round, then it's the Super Bowl. Well, you get a week off in the Super Bowl, so again, you can come out and counteract all the shit you put on 2 games. How are you catching up?
And this is just a spitball idea. Say if they don't get this, the first or second.
It's still not going to matter because they don't. All that's going to do is give them a week to practice and make sure the execution is. But it's not. Yeah, it's not going to. I don't think it's going to make a difference.
My angle, what I was going to say, even if they don't get the bye, they have to go 4 weeks, obviously, to bring home a Lombardi. And yet people will say, "Oh, you're not even in the playoffs yet." I'm just spitballing on LaFleur's game plan, on what we've just talked about, on using what works and what not. I feel like LaFleur and Pettin really could sit down and pull all the plays they've had together and split them into 4 phases. Phase 1, wild card weekend. Phase 2, divisional. Phase 3, NFC championship. But with each week you gain moving up, wild card weekend, you win it. You combine phase 1 and phase 2, use that game plan and shove it into. So basically, you have to make the defense worry about, oh crap, well they're using their slot receiver a ton, plus they're using tight ends this week. Oh crap, win that, move in the NFC championship. Oh Jesus, here comes Aaron Jones coming out of the backfield for 150 yards receiving again. Combine that. What's the last phase? Defense, wide receivers. I feel like you can combine all of it. And I feel like LaFleur would call quarter 1. They could run any of those phases in any order and choose a different offense and make defensive coordinators, no matter who they face, change up the way they adapt to the game. Say, oh man, well, shit, they're killing us in the pass. We're going to have to drop more in coverage. Quarter 2, there comes Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams. Slot receiver screens, move down the field. Oh, crap, we got to move guys back up. They're playing too soft now because of the fact that we were dedicating people to the secondary. Aaron Rodgers goes off for a couple bombs. He reminds the world of everybody of MVS in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, man, I know it's a long shot, but hey.
No, we're just talking, and you know what? On that note, that's a good way to hit break and close out the show because that was like just a beautiful way to say things. So we're taking a break, and we're going to come out and close the show on that beautiful sequility by Mr. Stagger. And if you haven't had enough of our banter tonight, you want to visit NFL Addictions on Facebook.com for all of your NFL banter and debate. It's not a trash talk site, so keep it clean and keep it cordial. That's NFL Addictions on Facebook.com. And if you still have an itch to scratch,